Hi, Julie.
Hey, Shan.
Welcome to Elevate with Jen. Curious Mind Unites. Today I want to say that Julie is a special guest because I met her in one of the personal development group called Genius with Jay Shetty, and she is also a mindset and transformational coach. And today we'll be diving into what is the 2024 habits that is gonna create a successful and fulfilling year. So let's hear what Julie has to say.
Thanks for having me, Shan. Yeah, I know it's fun when you get to meet in person and then you continue your personal growth journey together throughout. So it's great to see each other's transformation and like all the life events that come across. But I think what you shared about habits is a huge piece whenever we start the 2024 year or any year of okay, what's going to happen this year. So I'm excited to see what comes of this conversation.
Yeah. Okay, first question, right? Like when we think about habits, do you have like a separate set of habits for professional and personal?
I think yes. There's different types of habits that you build and form between professional or personal. But what I recently loved is this idea that, we start the new year and we just make a long list of habits we want to create, and it can get overwhelming. And at the end of the day, it's almost just turns into this checklist.
Mhm.
So I actually recently went back to my list and said, okay, let's being realistic, being honest with myself. Which ones of these habits do I really don't care that much about? Or I'm not really saying it's a 8 out of 10 or higher priority. And let's just cross those off. Because I don't know about you, Shen, but I have a tendency of having a long to-do list, and then it gets overwhelming because the list gets bigger. And yet when I look at some of these things, they're just like half of them are 3 out of 10s. So recently I thought, what would it be like to literally go and cross these off? If they're 3 out of 10s in the first place, let's shorten my list, condense my habits, and then start from there. So I think you can start with your full list of different habits for different categories, whether professional or personal, and
Mhm.
then maybe rate them on a scale of 0 to 10. Like, how much do I really care about this? Is it just society telling me, oh, you need to, do this for 5 minutes every day, or you need to do that? Or is it really there's a deeper intention of why I'm doing that thing? So I think I'm still editing and deleting some things from my list to figure out what some of the priorities are.
Yeah, I love that. Like you just gave us a practical way of looking at our habit lists, right? Because I'm like you, I have so many to-do lists. And while I'm not as organized as you, like I feel like I need to really create that personal list versus the professional list because my list is all together. And sometimes I'm not even sure like which one should I be focusing on, right? Like you said, right? But I like how you use the scale. So it's anything above eight, you focus, and anything below eight, you're like cross out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Are there any habits that you can think of where you may have set it on your habit tracker or something somewhere along the way that actually it's just like every time you either forget to do it or it doesn't matter, or it's like, where did this habit come from? Did I hear it from a podcast or a book when actually it's kind of meaningless to me?
I wanted to say like when you ask that question, right? Like what comes to my mind is that a habit that I've been wanting to create for a long time and never happens, which is drinking water, right? Like I so intentionally want to create that habit, but it never happens. Like I would block it in my calendar and that would be a reminder like you have to drink water now in 5 minutes. And then I forget it or I dismiss it. And I'm like, okay, later. So I wonder how can I make that happen because I care about that, but yet I let other habits or lists overtake that important list.
I mean, it's interesting to get first down to the why, like we always say in coaching. Like why the water? What is it about the water? Where did you learn that from? Where did the inspiration come from? How do you know that that's the thing that you want to spend energy in?
Um, you ask, are you asking me to? Okay, cool. I will do this now. Okay. I think you said it right there. I wanted to create this habit because I learned that it's important, it's healthy from other people and research, but it wasn't something that I really care about to begin with. Like I just know, okay, I drink water, but I don't really care how often I drink. But I did realize that when I'm tired and I drink water, it helps me feel like I am replenishing my energy. So that was one thing that I really want to improve on in terms of my energy. So it's more of like I want to focus on my energy. That's why the water came in. But maybe that's why.
I love that. And you just made the connection there, which is it's not really about the actual water, it's about the energy and being able to sustain yourself throughout the day. And you, I think this is a perfect example of many times when we, again, listen to podcasts or books, we get an idea or an insight, and then we think, oh, let me put that exactly in my calendar to do this. But then it becomes just like a mindless to do task. Oh, I'm getting the alert to drink water, like whatever, you know? And there's been many times when I've turned things into like, I just put them in my calendar so I can tick it off, but there isn't that further meaning behind it. And so like for me with water, I like to have tea every day, and so that's my form of hydration. So rather than saying, oh, I have to make sure I drink a lot, it's like take time for my morning tea.
I agree. Actually, I like the way that you replace water with tea because you're also building a healthy habit, but you're using something that you would go for, right? Like tea is also as healthy as water and it reminds you more, and then choosing something that you like, replacing with that thing, it's more important than forcing yourself into picking the most healthiest thing in the world, right? And then start from there. So it's like setting myself to fail. I feel like I just did because instead of like, okay, how can I add something healthier into that habit to make sure that I drink water? Maybe I could go by. Um, what is something healthy that I want to drink instead of just saying I need to drink water, right? Like forcing myself in that angle. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. What
And
is
and
go on?
And like you said, like even within a habit, there could be another habit, like, okay, drinking more water. Maybe the habit is every time I walk out the door, I bring my hydro flask. For me, it's hydro flask.
Mm.
Because if I don't, then I'm going to drink less water. Or I fill it with, I put some BCAs in mine sometimes, which is flavored water. So,
Okay.
like things like that. Maybe it's not the actual habit of drinking the water that you're seeking, it's the habit of making the tea in the morning, of putting your water bottle here in the morning or when you walk out the door. So it's kind of interesting to even take one habit and say, if I were to make a bunch of habits out of this
Mm.
task that I'm trying to accomplish, what would that be? What would that look like?
Yeah, I love that you make the habit sounds more fun than a boring habit, right? Adding little flavor into the water, making it more interesting than it is, right? So yeah, I need to look into that habit. Maybe that list will cross. I'll cross that out now. Because it's not an eight for me.
Feel relieved, cross off, don't get overwhelmed, cross off everything that's just
Mm.
okay, that
Yeah,
down
it's
the line.
actually refreshing right now just to hear that, if it's not an eight, I don't really need to look at it because we really so often that we want to build so many healthy habits, right? Especially start of the year, right? Like everyone comes up with their list and how many of us actually follow through. So,
I'm
so
curious
yeah.
how you come up with your list. Like how does one even begin? And maybe you can give me some insights too. How does one even begin to figure out, okay, what habits do I want to set for the year?
Mm, it's a hard one. But
trying to take notes for myself here.
I have been really thinking deeply about it because, like you said, my list comes and goes. That means I know it's not that important. So I remember how I created one of the most important habits for me that I have been maintaining till today is waking up early. I'm not sure if you're an early morning person, but I never was. But well, I got this idea also from Jay Shetty podcast, right? But I realized that morning is the best time for me to do my things, to be productive. And because I want to be productive and I didn't want my day to go wasted, I think that was how I decided that waking up early would help me build a life that I want to create. So I started with waking up at 7 from the very first time, like when I started to wake up early, and then I now I have reduced to 6 a.m. It used it did went down to 5:45 for a moment, and then I'm like, I don't have to be that strict, I don't have to force myself that much. I need some sleep. So I have been maintaining this habit for I think at least 2 years, waking up early, because why I want to wake up early is because I want to create a disciplined life. I decided that I need to do my meditation. And if I start my day without that, my day is just gonna mess up. So I think my morning routine is the most important habit that I created. And I'm so blessed and so happy that I am able to maintain that. Yeah.
That's pretty powerful, that and then I like to call it muscle memory, like, and now it just becomes muscle memory. You don't even necessarily, sounds like, have to put it on the paper, "Oh, I'm waking up at this time." It's just it becomes your identity, it's who you are. Now I'm this type of person who gets up in the morning and does the meditation and, um, set that up for myself, and it's interesting how after some time, you don't even have to think about it or write it down or put it on your to-do list. It just becomes who you are.
Yeah. And I want to go back to your question, right? You were asking me, how do I decide what habit do I need to create? So what comes to my mind is that in 2024, like what is the habit I want to build? What is the habit I want to maintain, right? Which the maintain will be the morning ritual, right? And then what is that habit I want to let go? Because I feel like it's so important that we need to replace the old habit with the new one so that we don't have the overwhelm of like so many things to do, right? So, do you want me to go first, or would you like to share
Yeah.
your?
Go for it. That's a good one. So you said, which is the one I want to maintain and which is the one I want to kind of create or swap or
New one. Mhm. Yeah, new versus old, right? So the old one, I'm willing to let go. What is that, right? So, it's been difficult to really select and pick which one I want to do, but I think one of the habit that I really want to do build is actually setting boundaries. Um, because I realize I'm a people pleaser for a long time, unconsciously, right? Um, and I realized that I have no boundaries for a long time. And as an empath, we take on people's emotions so easily, right? And by end of the day, I just don't have energy to do anything, and I'm just unfulfilled. And I the funny thing is I appreciate like meaningful relationships so much that I need to invest so much energy in those conversations. So I realized setting boundaries is so key for me this year because um I know it's not, if I don't set boundaries, I am not sustainable, not for the week or the day. So yeah.
comes back down to the energy piece actually. So I love that because now that I'm looking at the water habit, it's conserving your energy all the way through the day. So it's all connected. Like that's the core piece of the conserving your energy. So how does one go about creating habits around boundaries? Because I think that's a huge topic. And what are some of your thoughts around how you can create habits around boundary making?
I think before we could really list out what boundaries those boundaries are. It's so important to know what we value, right? Like if you value making peace with people, right? Like peace is so important. Then you need to think about like when circumstances happen, right? Like, are you going to just let be peaceful about that conversation and let go? Or are you gonna like speak up if you value like self-expression more, right? In this scenario. So you need to know like which value is more important at a certain time frame, like not to say that you can't change it. I just feel like we should always look back at our value every 3 to 6 months just to see whether is it still the same. So I mean that's how I would start with the boundaries piece, because it's really new to me, and sometimes I just feel really proud of myself when I was able to express that boundary, when I feel like, oh my God, I'm feeling imbalanced now. And I mean, I could just let it go like my usual self. Like it's just easier not to speak up. But I want to strengthen my my heart, right? Like myself. Like I want to feel more aligned with who I am. So I just had to do something about it. That
Yeah.
yeah.
Congrats. You're gonna have to keep me posted throughout the year how it goes. But what I love about what you said is that it's a huge piece of being aware of throughout your entire process, throughout the day, throughout, as you're checking in with yourself, it's reflecting about what are your boundaries, where's the energy being consumed too much of. And then from that place, only in the state of awareness can you then set something to either speak up or,
Mhm.
communicate it with whoever it is that you want to set the boundary with, or even with yourself, setting the boundaries with yourself.
Exactly, Julie. I feel like I've been sharing a lot about myself. So I want to hear what do you have to say for your
Yeah.
habits that you're creating right now? Like what is that eight?
Well, first of all, I resonate so much in the people pleaser side. Like I think it's also connected to being both empaths, but the people pleaser side is a very big part in me. And as I was doing more reflection beginning of this year, actually around that side, I realized its intentions, the people pleaser side's intentions for me, which was to stay humble, to show up professionally or with integrity. And so even when I look at the people pleaser side of me, I remember to acknowledge the good things about it and what its real intention is. And then to address, like you said, when it's energy, too much energy, or I'm abandoning myself or I'm compromising. So I think that some of the habits, and this is like, I'm going to have to do some more digging around, but what I want to create
Mm,
is, is, I don't even know if you could say it's a habit of, but I want to create a habit of um, acknowledging myself and not abandoning myself. Because I think a huge piece in this is moments where I just say, "Oh, I'm okay, I'm fine, everything's good," and I take it on me, and I take it on me until at one point I'm not fine, things are not good, and I've abandoned myself. So I think that's a huge habit to set, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to set it, but it's around creating that, knowing that for this year, I will not be abandoning myself. I will be acknowledging what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling. And then maybe it's habits of setting up communication or
mm.
expressing my needs or communicating how I feel with the people around me. So things like that. But that's a huge create for me.
I feel like you actually did a very deep reflection, because for you to actually look inwards, right, and share that you are not going to abandon yourself, it means that you actually went through some emotional roller coaster, right? Like that you had to really acknowledge what is that people pleasing part of you trying to do, right? And I think a lot of us forget that. We just want to move on from that and let let go of the past. But I like that you say that you want to recognize and acknowledge what has happened, because without knowing what has happened, you never would be fully able to let go of that, and you probably come back to it again, right? So yeah, you just reminded me that people pleasing probably has served me for a while, right? Like maybe it was the trying to be peace trying to keep peace in my daily life. And maybe now it no longer serves me in that way. So I just felt like you bring up that very important part. So I want the audience to know that we should actually look into those parts, right? And say that, okay, I acknowledge that I was people pleasing, but now how can I do better, right? Like not really blaming that who I was, but acknowledging that you progress.
And loving the intentions of that thing that we are, and not abandoning that either, because how powerful that, underneath people pleasing is this desire to be humble, to fit in, to belong, like all values that are really important in human beings. So it's acknowledging those things and then deciding what part of that, like you said with the habits, which part are you deleting and which part are you bringing in this case, deleting the fact that I go along with everything, and inviting in that, okay, the goal is to not abandon myself. One of the sayings that I always said is, just because I can doesn't mean I should. And I think that, you know, being an empath again, or being super connected to people and compassionate with people, yeah, I can do a lot of things. I could be very flexible. I can accommodate this and that. But then it's that statement again, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really love that saying because it resonates so much with me. And I was just going to ask this follow-up question, right? Like, how do you actually remind yourself that just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? When things trigger you, because to own up a new habit is not easy. And when you are consciously aware, you know what to do. But when your days are like busy and everything just comes in life, like what do you do, like what is that, do you have
Yeah,
any strategy? Yeah.
I love the word you used, conscious. Like it comes back to that awareness. Are you conscious? And so then my goal is, how can I be more connected to me, myself, my mind, my soul, my body, everything? Like really be connected. And that back to the tying of not abandoning yourself. So throughout, is there a reminder? Is there some cues that I'm going to set up for myself to constantly, when things trigger me or things get tough, or I lose a little piece of myself because I'm so focused on someone else, how do I bring that energy back into myself by reminding myself, acknowledge yourself, don't abandon yourself. What is it that you really want? And it sounds funny, but I am really good at seeing perspective and understanding the other person. And sometimes too much so, where I'm like, I totally get you. I totally resonate. I can feel what you're feeling. I can even get emotional with you and see what you're experiencing. But then again, it's like, oh, but what about me? How am I processing the situation? What's going on with me and things like that. So it's a constant exercise to come back to me, come back to home, and ask myself too, how is it for me in this situation? So yeah, and it's funny because at first I thought, oh, it's a superpower, I can,
Mhm.
and it is a superpower to some extent, being able to connect with others and know how they're feeling and what they're experiencing. And that's great, but you also have to know how to come back to yourself and understand what's happening within you. So you being able to use your superpower of connecting with others, which is great, but then also the boundaries where, okay, I can connect with you. I can spend more time with you. I can do this. I can help you with this. But then what about me? Am I going to be, for me, the behavior that it results is resentment, because then I resent myself for letting myself do XYZ, or going too far, or spending too much energy. And then back to the abandonment. So a lot to think about, but I love the word that you said about the conscious, being conscious. And yeah, for me, it'd be coming back and checking in with myself. Like, am I missing something here?
Yeah, I love that it's such a simple reminder where you check in with yourself to see where you're at, where's your energy at, right? Where are you feeling like just coming back to yourself and not let the external force or whatever affects your day. Because what I think about was the self-love, right? Like when you don't have anything left for yourself, how are you supposed to give to other people, right? And I think we were just conditioned to love other people. And for empath, I feel like it's like you say, it's a superpower. It's so easy for us to resonate, connect, empathize, but we forgot about ourselves so often, right? Like it's so funny, like when you say like how this superpower can actually affect us so easily as well, right? Like you cry with that person, you actually sit with that person for a while, but you actually absorb all that energy, right? And then you forgot to neutralize or purify that energy, and then it just get overwhelmed, and then you felt imbalanced. And so I really like that you should regularly check with yourself, not abandon yourself. I like you keep using the word abandon, right? Okay, I need to make sure I'm not doing that because I'm empath too. So yeah, so coming back to the second thing, right? What is the habit you would like to maintain?
The habit I'd like to maintain, maybe this is more around my business and like organizing my life, but I love Excel sheets. And so the habit I'd like to maintain and maybe even get better at is be more um, time management and efficient at these Excel sheets. And I have different Excel sheets for different things, like, you know, understanding, my coaching log, for example, how many hours I have, payments, jobs. I have goals Excel sheets. I have a bunch of Excel, group coaching, planning the schedule and things like that. So lots of Excel sheets. I think that's one of my strength habits. And if I could do it in a way that's quicker turnover where I don't wait like 2 days to go and fill it out or check in, then everything is just always up to date. So I don't know if I think that's a trick to your question. It's like maintain and improve just a bit.
It's always there's always things to improve, right? Like nothing is perfect until we decide that it's perfect, right? And anyway, no one's perfect. So I like that you actually add in the improvement piece, but also recognize that you're good at certain things, right? When you mention about like you're really good with Excel, I'm like, oh my God, can she do mine? Because I'm the worst with that, right? I hate tracking, but I do know the importance of tracking, and I always feel so behind with those things. But um, I do want to say that in terms of maintaining, I think I'm pretty good at committing. Once I commit, it doesn't matter what other people think, I do it anyway. So I think it's like so like for example, right? Like my weekly to-do list, or see to-do list, right? Or to-be list maybe. I I tend to write what I need to do for the next day, and then I just commit to it. It doesn't matter what happened. I will have to get it done because I think this is the way that I show respect to myself. Again, I think I relate that with my value because if I can't even commit to showing myself some respect, right? Like just trusting myself or um what I have promised to myself with these small little things, I can't commit into anything else. So I just make it a habit, I guess, to really follow through. And then I look back later, a week later, and see if I'm proud of it, and then decide whether I should continue. So I think committing, like being disciplined about certain things, is my strength. And I decided to continue this throughout the year, especially for the business, right? Like I too just started, and yeah, I really need to be in a position that I can be proud of myself for how far I've come. So
No, that's exciting. And it's just like what you said about, you commit and you do this thing and you reflect on it and you keep following the progress. I know you shared with me a new habit you started where you said, I just do this five minutes a day. And that was really inspiring to me because it's the commitment again. This is manageable. This is what I can do 5 minutes a day. And then you keep checking in with yourself. And I think that's my loophole sometimes. It's like I have too big expectations and then I get lost and overwhelmed and then end up doing nothing. Or I have two options and then I don't know which one to go for and then I end up doing nothing. So I think the commitment piece is really important. And maybe it's also connected to what you're choosing to prioritize. because once it's up there in the priority list, then it's easier to commit and go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we come to the last one, right, which is to letting go of a habit that no longer serves us, what is it for you?
Hmm. I think, well, I think it's the habit of wanting to tick everything off my list.
Mm,
Like to even set an extra task for myself that complicates the whole system. Like, oh, I want a really nice calendar with all the habits listed out, and I want beautiful like X marks. And oh, by the way, it can only start on the first of the month because it makes only sense to start on the first, so like rules like that, I'm ready to let go of. Like, okay, it's the 15th, I have a new habit I want to start. It's starting on the 16th or the 17th. But I have a habit of waiting for it to be perfect, to being on the first, to starting on a Monday, like, all the things that actually are really useless. And it's just letting go of that attachment or that control of these things. Um, yeah. And
it resonates.
it's yeah, it's so satisfying to tick off things from a paper, but then half the time when you do that, I think for me personally at least, I lose the intention. Like, why am I even doing this? Am I just trying to tick off, I drink a glass of water, blah, 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 whatever, whatever, tick, tick, tick. And then is my life just becoming a series of things I want to tick off?
Mm.
There's a part of me that loves that element, and then there's the other part who wants to think more of like the identity piece, like you said, the who am I becoming, the to be. That's like, okay, don't get lost in this surface level
Mm.
stuff when actually what you really care about is this deeper level. So I'm gonna have to do some work on how I set my habits up for that for sure.
Yeah, I love that because I resonate so much. And when you mentioned that, straight away, what comes to my mind is perfectionism, because that's what I struggle with my whole life, right? Like, whatever I do, I always like, oh, not good enough. I'm not gonna share this. Wait. Um, Let me wait till it's perfect, right? Like something that you say about the calendar, it has to be this way, it has to be a certain date. And who said those things, right? Who tell us that, right? Like I don't know where I learned those things from as well, but I'm ready to let go of those perfectionism mindset because the only way for me to move forward, I realize to progress is to take the imperfect actions, right? Like for example, today we're recording this, right? I feel there's so many ways that we could improve better, like my communications, but I'm ready to just share it out and see how people resonate with. Like that's the only way I can get feedback or grow from. So I think perfectionism no longer serve me. As much as I like it to be at a certain level, I think I will better manage my expectation these days. Like I think going into starting our own business, right? It's like super difficult. Like I set a certain goal. I always set a goal that is higher than most people, I feel, just as a beginner. And then I realized that, oh my God, like what kind of goal is this? Like I'll share with you why I say so. So example, right? Because before I get into coaching, I was a recruiter for 13 years, right? So when I join a new company, I always try to exceed my expectation from the company and from myself. Because I have been doing that for so long, it's been easy for me to just perform, right? Like even though it's a new company. But like going into coaching, I realized that, well, I just started this. And when I set the goal, I was like, okay, I need to get like 5 clients per month. I'm like, where do I find that from? And I get super demotivated when things don't go my way. So I think just managing my expectation and look at what reality is, what's really happening, and also know that what's my intention. Because my intention is not to get 5 clients. My intention is to do this well, long term, and to be intentional about the how coaching can help people, right? So I just feel like sometimes I set unrealistic expectation and it always got to do with the perfectionism of wanting to be at a certain level in I don't know whose standard is that, but yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we have to challenge ourselves when it like goes back to, oh, I'm setting this 5 clients, I'm saying I'm drinking this much gallons or whatever. I think we have to challenge ourselves and keep asking the question, what's important about that? What's important about that? Okay, and what's important about that? And then you'll get to the bottom line, which actually has nothing to do with the cups of water or the number of clients. Like there's something deeper there, and it's really fun to go and tap into what actually is underneath that. Like you said, actually, what's my intention to be sustainable, to believe in myself as a coach? Like, what else is coming up underneath just that simple, like, oh, five clients or 10 clients or journal 10 minutes or do this. It's what I love is Vishen from Mind Valley says this, like, are you creating a goal or a habit that's a means where I'm doing this thing to get this thing? Or is your goal really the bottom line? And I think that's another thing that, I will do some work on too, of when I set a goal or I set a habit, like, is that a means goal? Is it a means to get somewhere else? Or is that really, am I going to enjoy the journey of actually doing this thing? And I think habits stay with us and build momentum when it can be not a means goal, but is the bottom root goal that we've created for ourselves.
I love that. It's so deep that we have to delayer all the surface stuff. And I feel like you're really good at it, Julie. Do you want us to do like a example to show how coaching can actually help people through this example of surface goal and then delayering it to the actual goal?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Okay, so how do we start with this? Do I just come up with a goal and then we go from there? How does
Yeah.
it work?
Yeah. Like I loved your goal of getting 5 clients a month. I think there's a lot underneath that for sure.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, let's just use this as an example, right? Why do I want to get 5 clients per month? Well, I think first of all, when I think about having 5 clients a month, I feel productive. Okay. And why do I feel productive? Because
And often the question isn't so much why in that case, it's what is important. Like, okay, so we know why being productive is great, XYZ, whatever. But what for you is important about productivity? Like, what is it about productivity for you? Yeah, we know why it's great, blah, blah, blah. We create habits, we get to goals, blah, blah. But what's important about productivity to you?
that's a good one. I think when it comes to that productivity question is that I'm used to having a schedule calendar to do my things. So I was just so I'm thinking if I have 5 clients, I would be busy, right? I would have the next call to do. Um, and I don't want to feel like I'm not doing anything, I guess. Um, so what does that say?
I'm hearing that it means you're making progress. It means you're organized and you have a similar schedule to maybe a previous type of work schedule. So there's that like
Mhm.
congruency or trust in what it is that you're doing in the process. What else can you think of that is important about all these things?
About productivity.
Mhm.
Um, I think I work really well when I have the momentum, when I can generate a, a list of leads that I need to do. Because I think previously I was a recruiter as well, right? We pretty busy with connecting, calling, and it's just a continuous thing. So I feel like I just set a goal that was my past experience that I had to follow through because otherwise I feel like I'm not actually successful. And I think it's also fear of failure that came to my mind when I think about why do I need 5 clients, right? It's like maybe 5 clients is the success version for me. So yeah, I think it's also wait, how do I continue from here? I'm like lost.
No, this is great. And you can dig around for the what's important about that for however many steps that you want. But what you just said there about the momentum, here's
Mm,
another question that, anyone listening can also, you can ask yourself this. When you get to a route, for example, momentum's important for you.
right.
Now ask yourself, okay, let me be in this momentum. Let me visualize that I absolutely have this thing for you, momentum. If you absolutely had this thing, it was already within you, you were excellent at it, what would you be able to accomplish with this momentum?
I would be able to accomplish um I don't know, a lot more. um I would be able to prioritize what is really important and look at what are the things that really matters, because I think the 5 clients is just a KPI that I set, and it's not as important as it is for financial goal, right? I think it is not the most important thing, because I think if I have the momentum to maintain the I keep going back to energy. I don't know why. It's like I need to have the energy. So I rather have, can I say this? I rather, now to think about it, I rather to have like 2 clients per day. Oh, not per day, right? Like have 2 clients that I can intentionally serve than having 5 clients that I can't really be fully 100% there. So I think it's a reminder that, is this goal really something that I'll be proud of? Because I think at the end of the day, I need to feel good about each sessions that I have with my clients. So if I have 5 clients, but I couldn't serve them to the best possibility that I can give, right? Then I'm not doing them a service, right? I'm doing a disservice, and also to myself, I'll be much more disappointed. And I think um, I just confuse the success with fulfillment in this case, because
I love
yeah.
I love that you came back to energy. Like, you definitely keep digging in there because there's something really impactful for you about energy. And if I mirror back to you, what you said is the momentum leads to, the energy conservation, which leads to a balanced life. So there's something in here that is all about balanced life. So yeah, it's really interesting to get to the root or get to understanding, that thing. And
Yeah,
if you had momentum, then you would believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, fear of failure would start to relax. And if fear of failure started to relax, then what? And it's always this like, great, then what? Then what? Once you accomplish this, then what? And yeah, thank you for being so open to sharing that process. And I think this comes back to the concept we keep talking about with the habits of like being very clear about why you're setting something, and that maybe there's an underlying thing in there for you to actually start prioritizing more than the actual ticking of the drank my water today, great.
exactly. I feel, yeah, thank you so much for demonstrating how this would work, because I think a lot of people don't really know how to dig deeper. Like it's easy for us to say, let's dig deeper. And then people like, how? What question do I need to ask? So I guess people need to hire a coach, right? Because a coach is skilled in asking those questions and really capturing what the client just mentioned and then reflect back to them, right? Like, did I actually miss anything else in
Well,
this?
exactly what you shared. I love, and like I still get tons of coaching sessions for myself, and I love being the client because as the client, you just brain dump everything. First thoughts that come up, whatever feelings come up, You just let it out, let it flow, and then you let the coach sort of connect dots for you or organize things for you or ask you the next challenging questions. And it's so relaxing to be the client when it comes to that, because you can just say, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'll tell you, open book, all my thoughts. Here's what I'm experiencing. Here's what I think. Here's what I care about. And then you sort of let the coach just, like you've experienced just right here, kind of piece things together and make you continue reflecting on, oh, okay, I see it from this perspective now, and you understand from a deeper level. So yep, coaches need coaches too. I love that, Shen. And coaching sessions are very powerful. Like, you can journal for quite some time and get a lot out, build awareness, but it's that one change of perspective that a question will do, that will really propel you and exponentially help you grow.
Exactly. And I want to just throw in this question because I think a lot of people misunderstand what coaching is, right? Like, so like people are like, okay, so does it mean that coaches actually share some advice, like coaches actually go back into the past and tell us what happened? Like, isn't that therapy? Like, or like mental? Like, what do you have to say? Like,
First of all, I think it's important to note that, like, the coaching field is so unregulated. There's like a ton of coaches. And I don't know exactly what the percentage was, but I remember being mind blown that it's like less than 10% or so are actually accredited. So when you know that different people are experiencing different types of coaching, and sometimes it's getting a bad reputation for, just, oh, you go to this person, they tell you exactly what to do, and you do the thing. But I think that when you work with a, certified coach, a lot more experienced, you'll notice that it's not about them telling you what to do, because honestly, if that was the case, you could go on the internet and figure out how to set habits, and there'd be a million ways to do it, right? So I think the best way to describe proper life coaching is that you'll get quick transformation and not a to-do list. You won't, someone won't tell you what to do, but they'll help you unlock something within yourself that's very unique, because we're still all very unique humans that experience life differently. So it's very catered to the person who is getting coached. And it's not a to-do list. It's unlocking a layer that's so transformative that from that place, now you can go and set your own goals. Now you can go and create your SMART goals, as we call it. So unlock that piece that's blocking you. What is really blocking you underneath that a coach can help you with? And then from that place, you can create any sort of goals for yourself, even after the sessions.
yeah, I love that. It's really the self-discovery piece, right? Like you really get that space, the safe space to really share what you have in mind or you fear. And the coach is like really there to be unbiased and listen to you and champion your goal together, right? Like imagine having two minds in one directions, right? Like how powerful is that when you don't know how to get there? You really need someone to point you into the direction, but not throwing advice just to make you do a certain things like the to-do list, right? I love that how you relate. Coaching is not the to-do list, right? Coaching is guiding you to find ways to create your own to-be list, I guess.
Yeah, there will be coaches out there who will give you all this homework and go do this and go do this and go do that. And again, those are all to do things, like you're just doing them. But are you really fundamentally transforming internally and inside of you? A true, experienced coach, the transformation happens deep, and then you do whatever you want with that transformation, with creating goals, creating the next thing for yourself. But yeah, just think of the impact. Come unlock the bottom layers, and then the whole top layers open up.
Yeah, I love that. It's to really dig deep into the root cause, right? Once you actually heal that root cause, where you're not just putting a plaster on the wound, right? And then just continue to build on it, but you actually heal the wound and then move forward with your own pace, knowing the steps that works for you. And it's like a long-term, what do you call that? It's a I get lost in words like
Long-term journey, discovery, like
Yeah,
That's
it's
what.
yeah, it's not a shortcut, right? Definitely. So, but coaching has the power to actually create that untap those potential within you that you don't even know and realize. And just within that few sessions, you suddenly realize that you have so much more potential, and it just create ripple effects in different areas of life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Julie. I feel like we had a really great discussion, and I want to give this opportunity for you to share who you are and share whatever you have to say.
Yeah, no, it was great. And it's what I love about personal growth is you can talk about habits and go so deep into so many different topics that are all connected.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, everything is so connected. But no, it was a pleasure to be here, and thanks for the great questions. You definitely made me reflect on some things I want to set up for myself for 2024. It's never too late. I've given myself January to reflect, and now I'm really getting ready to sit down and see, okay, now from this place of reflection, now what are the true goals that I actually care about, that I actually want? So I think that's pretty powerful. But yeah.
Yeah, and share with them, like, if for people who resonate with you, who want to have a session with you, right? Like, how can they find you? Like, what kind of coaching do you provide?
Yeah, so I'm a mindset and transformation coach. As you heard in this session, I like to go to the root cause, so it's a lot of digging around. But you can find me at lifeisbeautiful.me website or Instagram handle. So instead of .com, it's .me, which I think is very fitting for the personal growth field because it is coming back to you and seeing, okay, what am I doing in this situation? What is my potential here? So yeah, so lifeisbeautiful.me. You can find me on my Instagram or my website, and you can book a discovery call with me, and we'll connect and you can experience my coaching.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Julie. I'll put all those information in the link when we share this episode out. I think it's gonna mind blow everyone. And I think we share a lot of golden nuggets there. And I hope people are listening and willing to take the chance to have the discovery call with you and go from there, right?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And for you, what's your process with when people resonate with you? What's your discovery call side?
What's the discovery call site? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you mean where do they find me?
Do you when in your discovery calls, do you go right into coaching? How does your discovery call work?
So thank you for that question. I feel like I haven't got this question for a long time. So I call my discovery call a clarity call these days. So how it works is that first of all, when we get into the call, I get to know the person genuinely, right? Like really seeking to understand why they're here. What is that? Whether is it a goal or whether is it a fear or something that they want to overcome. And I like to use the wheel of life to start with finding what is the gap in their life. So basically, we look at personal, relationship, health, financial, and work, right? And spiritual side. And we'll have them use that skill, like what you share in the building habit, like basically 1 to 10. We'll go through which one has the biggest gap, and then we'll dig deeper into that session and go from there. So that's how usually I conduct my clarity call. And so that will be some portion of coaching insight, but it's more of like really getting to know whether the person is coachable, whether I'm the best coach for them. Because I think coaching relationship has to be mutually invested. So if let's say the person is really not ready, I feel like maybe they need some time to think about it before we jump into the session, because otherwise, again, I'm not doing a service to them. So that's how I do it. Yeah.
I love it. I think we both have that in common where the very first session that you'll experience with us, you'll experience our style, our coaching. Like, let's just dive right in, get the experience, and then see if it's a good fit. And then, we both decide of whether that's a good fit. So yeah, I encourage everyone that's interested, even if you've never tried life coaching, to go for a discovery call or a clarity call or a coaching call, as I call it, so many different names, but it all comes down to jumping in and starting to talk about what brings you here and where you are in your personal growth journey.
Thank you so much, Julie, for the recommendation. I think everyone should just invest in themselves. And this discovery call, this clarity call is all free. So what's not to take advantage of it, right? And then see whether it resonates or not. But I need to let Julie go because she's a busy coach and she has a lot of clients waiting for her. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us your insight, wisdom, and how we can build a better habit for 2024 for a successful and fulfilling year.
You. Yeah, no, it was a great conversation. You gave me a lot of things to think about and speak out loud, and I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, if anyone has any insights that they gained from this, I'd be curious to know as well. So, please share with us.
Thank you so much.